It's 2:13 over the Persian Gulf. Tanker orbits are already in place. Somewhere in the dark, F-15E Strike Eagles are flying silent radars off, running black, waiting for a single word from AWACS. Execute. That word never came. But in January 2025, Washington quietly moved F-15Es and I-10 Thunderbolts within striking distance of Iran, not for a training rotation, not for a show of flags. Emergency deployment, full weapons loadout, orders to prepare for potential strikes against Iranian targets. Intelligence indicated imminent Iranian escalation, attacks on U.S. forces, threats to shipping, possible closure of the Strait of Hormuz. The Pentagon response was immediate. Deploy strike aircraft, position for rapid response. Make clear that Iranian aggression would face overwhelming American air power. Within 72 hours, dozens of F-15Es and I-10s were operational at forward bases, ready to strike, waiting for orders. This is the story of why the U.S. put Iran on high alert and what these specific deployments signal about American intentions. Tactically, here's why the F-15E was the right choice for this mission. It's a dual-role aircraft, air superiority and deep strike, the most capable strike fighter in the U.S. inventory for this exact mission profile. Maximum speed, Mach 2.5. Combat radius, 685 miles. That means it can reach targets deep inside Iran nuclear facilities, command centers, military bases, and return to base without refueling. The weapons load is what makes it a flying arsenal. 4 GBU-31 JDAM GPS-guided 2,000-pound bombs, GBU-38 precision munitions, AGM-65 Maverick missiles for hardened targets, AIM-120 AMRAAM air-to-air missiles for self-defense, AIM-9X sidewinders for close combat. That's not a fighter, that's a flying strike package, and Iran knows it. The APG-82 AESA radar detects ground targets at long range, tracks multiple simultaneously. Combined with the sniper targeting pod for laser designation, the F-15E crew of 2 pilot and weapons systems officer can coordinate precision strikes while managing the air threat above them. It has proven itself in combat. Desert Storm, Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. Consistent performance, high mission success rate, reliable in exactly the conditions the Pentagon was anticipating. The deployment of F-15Es signals specific intention, deep strike capability, precision attacks on hardened targets, Iranian command centers, military facilities, nuclear sites if necessary. This isn't defensive positioning, this is offensive capability moved to the doorstep. Now, from Iran's point of view, the I-10 deployment sent a completely different and arguably more terrifying message. The I-10 isn't fast, it isn't stealthy. Maximum speed, 439 miles per hour. Subsonic, old by modern standards, but speed isn't the point. The I-10 is designed to operate at low altitude, close to ground forces, delivering direct and sustained fire, and it can absorb enormous punishment while doing it. The primary weapon is the GAU-8 Avenger 30mm cannon, 7-barrel Gatling gun. Fires depleted uranium and high-explosive rounds at 3,900 rounds per minute. Designed to destroy tanks, armored vehicles, fortified positions. The sound is unmistakable. Brrr. Terrifying to enemies, reassuring to friendly forces below. 4 AGM-65 Maverick missiles, GBU-12 laser-guided bombs, Hydra 70 rocket pods, AIM-9 sidewinders, up to 16,000 pounds of ordnance. That's not a strike aircraft, that's a flying gunship. And survivability is built into the airframe itself. A titanium bathtub protecting the pilot. Redundant flight systems. The I-10 can fly with 1 engine, 1 tail, and half a wing missing and still bring the pilot home. But the tactical advantage that matters most in the Iran scenario? Loiter time. The I-10 can orbit the battlefield for hours, waiting, watching, striking the instant a target appears. F-15s are faster, but they can't do that. The A-10 doesn't just hit once and leave, it stays, and it keeps hitting until the target ceases to exist. Iranian Revolutionary Guard units, coastal defense systems, naval bases. Every one of those targets is something an A-10 was built to methodically destroy from the air, over time, without stopping. Zooming out to the bigger picture, geography in this scenario is everything. Al Dhafra Air Base, UAE, 180 miles from the Iranian coast. F-15Es operating here can strike targets throughout southern Iran and return without refueling. Al Udeid Air Base, Qatar, the primary U.S. hub in the region. Extensive infrastructure, maintenance, ammunition, command and control. Both F-15Es and I-10s deployed here, centralizing operations. Undisclosed locations in Saudi Arabia, not publicly confirmed. But additional F-15E deployments to the kingdom provide strike angles against Iranian targets from a third direction. That's why the geometry matters. Iran is 636,000 square miles. Critical targets spread across vast territory. Multiple basing positions mean simultaneous strikes from different directions overwhelming Iranian air defenses, forcing them to defend everywhere, guaranteeing they defend nothing effectively. Flight times from these bases to key Iranian targets. Natanz nuclear facility, 45 minutes. Fordow enrichment site, 50 minutes. Tehran, 60 minutes. Bandar Abbas, naval base, 30 minutes. Revolutionary Guard headquarters, 55 minutes. By the time Iranian radar detected incoming aircraft, weapons would already be in flight. Too late for an effective intercept, too late to scramble fighters. Too late to move assets to safety. Now, from Iran's point of view, why did this deployment happen when it did? Iranian-backed militias in Iraq, escalated attacks on U.S. forces, rockets, drones, American personnel wounded. Iran supplied the weapons, directed the operations. The Iranian Navy increased harassment of commercial shipping in the Persian Gulf, fast attack boats, aggressive maneuvers against tankers, deliberate navigation interference. The Revolutionary Guard threatened to close the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's oil flows through that 1-mile choke point. Closure means global economic disruption. Iran uses that threat regularly, but this time the rhetoric was specific, more immediate, more conditional on what Washington did next. The Iranian nuclear program accelerated, enrichment levels approaching weapons grade. IAEA inspectors reported denied access to facilities. Iran moving toward nuclear capability faster than the last intelligence assessment predicted. And Houthi forces in Yemen, armed with Iranian-supplied missiles and drones, continued attacking Red Sea shipping, disrupting international commerce despite repeated U.S. Navy intercepts. Individually, each action is concerning. Collectively, they pointed to a coordinated Iranian campaign probing for U.S. red lines, testing resolve, escalating gradually while calculating that Washington wouldn't respond militarily. The Pentagon assessed that Iran had miscalculated. Time to demonstrate consequences, not through diplomatic protests, through hardware, positioned, ready, unmistakable. The F-15E and I-10 deployments sent specific and distinct messages. Different aircraft, different capabilities, different implications. F-15E message. Any target in Iran, hardened or not, is reachable. Nuclear facilities, command centers, underground bunkers. Iranian air defenses cannot stop them. Minimal warning. Precision delivery. That's not a threat, it's a capability demonstration. A-10 message. Iranian ground forces have no safe ground to stand on. Revolutionary Guard units, coastal defenses, naval installations. The A-10 doesn't hit once and withdraw. It orbits. It keeps hitting. It destroys everything in a target set before it leaves. Combined message. The U.S. can execute deep strategic strikes and sustain tactical destruction simultaneously. Iran cannot defend against both. Choosing to protect one priority means accepting catastrophic losses on the other. The timing reinforces the message. Deployment happened within 72 hours of the decision. The U.S. can move combat power rapidly, with no weeks of preparation warning. The next Iranian escalation could trigger an immediate response, not a diplomatic cable. Reports suggested approximately 2 F-15E squadrons, around 48 aircraft, and 1 A-10 squadron of roughly 18 aircraft. That's not a demonstration, that's sustained combat capability. Iran's public response was entirely predictable. Defiance, outrage, claims they're not intimidated. Iranian officials called the deployment provocative, claimed it proved American aggression, vowed to defend sovereignty, standard rhetoric for domestic consumption, but Iranian actions told a different story. Iranian naval operations became noticeably more cautious. Fast attack boats maintained greater distance from U.S. Navy vessels, fewer aggressive maneuvers, less threatening approach behavior. Militia attacks in Iraq decreased, not stopped, but reduced in frequency and intensity. Iran recalculated whether the cost still justified the signal. Revolutionary Guard rhetoric about closing the Strait of Hormuz softened. Still present, but shifting from "we will" to "if attacked." The immediacy drained out of it. Iranian air defense forces went on elevated alert, radars active, missile batteries repositioned, fighter aircraft at higher readiness levels, but defensive posture, not offensive preparations. These actions reveal the actual Iranian assessment. They understood the deployment was serious, not posturing, not bluffing. Combat-ready forces positioned to strike, and further escalation risked triggering exactly what Iran wants to avoid. For Tehran's planners, this wasn't just about surviving tonight. It was a preview of what a real U.S. air campaign would look like and how fast their strategic assets could disappear. Tactically, here's why the deterrence question is harder than it looks. Arguments 4. Military positioning demonstrates resolve. Threats become credible. Iran's cost-benefit calculation shifts aggression and becomes too expensive. Iranian behavior moderated after the deployment. Fewer militia attacks, softer straight rhetoric, suggests it worked. Arguments against. Deployments increase tension, raise stakes, create conditions for miscalculation. An accidental confrontation in the Gulf escalates faster than diplomats can respond. Historical precedent leans toward deterrence. Previous U.S. deployments to the region 2019, 2020, 2022 correlated with reduced Iranian aggression each time. Not perfect, but a pattern exists. The key variable is credibility. If Iran believes the U.S. will actually use these forces, deterrence holds. If Iran reads it as a bluff, deterrence collapses. This deployment appeared credible. Combat-ready aircraft, clear mission profile, presidential authorization already in place for defensive strikes. Iran knew the threshold was real. But credibility is not permanence. The aircraft rotate home, the intelligence picture shifts, Iran recalibrates, and the next crisis begins from a new baseline. High-alert F-15E and I-10 deployment near Iran send an unmistakable message. The U.S. is prepared to strike, and it can do so before Iranian air defense has time to react. F-15Es provided the deep strike threat, precision, range, speed, any facility in Iran reachable within the hour. A-10s provided the sustained ground attack threat, loiter, firepower, survivability. Iranian military forces can run, but they can't hide from something that orbits for hours. Combined, the deployment covered strategic strikes and tactical destruction simultaneously. Iran couldn't counter both. Iranian behavior shifted, not reversed, but moderated, a sign the message landed. High alert continues. Aircraft remain deployed, waiting. And that's the message. Not a press release, not a diplomatic note, a combat-ready formation positioned 30 minutes from Bandar Abbas. Iran received it clearly. So here's the real question, and I want you to answer it in the comments. If Iran had directly tested this deployment with a provocation, do you think Washington would have struck first or held back? Tactical question. In a real clash after this deployment, what goes first, Iranian air bases, missile sites, or naval assets? Pick one and explain your reasoning. If you want more deep dives into military deployments, deterrence strategy, and how air power shapes international conflicts, hit that subscribe button for Battlescope. Don't forget to smash that like button and share this video with anyone serious about Middle East military strategy. Thanks for watching. Stay sharp, stay informed, and remember, the best military action is always the one that never needs to happen.